How to do a market analysis for a business plan. I've done a ton of them. I've helped hundreds. I'll tell you how to do it. As entrepreneurs and business owners, we know that if we have a clear plan, anything becomes possible. And if you can have a clear plan, a clear process to create that plan, and a way to create clarity with your partner or spouse, you can drive to amazing heights. All right, so if you're like, all right, I want to figure out how do I do a market analysis for my business plan. Fantastic, good for you. The fact that you can do this now, early, before you invest one penny is fantastic. So I've written a couple books on it. We've got the Aspiring Solopreneur. We've got a whole course on it. But high level, and I've done this for coffee shops to high-tech businesses to crypto companies. I mean, it's a full gambit of different things. But the first thing when you're doing a market analysis is once you've identified what is the problem you're solving, what is the problem you're solving? So it can be as simple as coffee shop means I'm offering coffee to people in a certain area. That could be solving a problem. High-end consulting means I am a coach to CEOs, okay, and I'm helping CEOs get better. Great, okay, but you first identify what is the problem that you're solving, and then you start thinking, okay, what are the outcomes I want? Then I'm going to encourage you to shift your thinking and say, rather than being the provider, now I'm a customer, and act as if you need to solve that problem. And how do you do it? So in this particular case, if it's coffee, great. I used to own coffee houses and wine bars. So it's like, okay, I want a coffee, I park here, I work here, I live here, whatever it may be. I say, okay, I'm thinking these areas. Where do I go to get a coffee and a nice scone? Okay. And start getting a general dynamic. Now, I've gone and done this with storage facilities and other things that I've developed. And in an old school way, you would actually buy a piece of paper map and put little dots on it that say, all of these are the locations of everything. So you can say, okay, well, here are all the other storage facilities around in this map. You say, there's a big gap right here. Fair enough. Maybe then it helps you start figuring out where you want to go look. So this is more of a geographic type of market analysis. If you're looking at it from a business or from like a product or service or online thing, it's in essence the same thing. You want to then start saying, okay, if I'm trying to do this, how do I solve this problem? And go. And if you go and suddenly the words you're looking at and the problem you're looking to solve, it is just buried with people and other people, you know there's a lot of competition. You may end up having to tweak what your product or service is so that it fits a little bit better niche. But again, this gets you started to start defining what exactly does that market look like. So once you start diving in and start moving forward on these, the next thing is going to be using a powers of observation. Sit back, watch, and learn as much as you can. In a lot of cases, if it's a storage facility, I would go in and I would talk to people. As silly as this is, I would go in and say, yeah, I'm thinking about, I'm considering I may be moving, and I'm thinking about what spaces do you have available? And they'll go through and they'll tell you exactly what they have available, and you can ask more questions, how many units you have. And if I go and everybody all around me is 40% occupied, I don't know that I'm going to put a couple $1,000,000 into a new facility and have a 40% occupied facility. But if I go and everybody's like, yeah, I only have 1 unit left, or I only have 3 left, I'm buried, and we're keep raising our rates, I'm like, market's really busy. Fair enough, that's good. Same thing with coffee. Nobody else has got it. Now, when it comes to the online type services, if there's nobody there, sometimes that's a red flag. And you may want to say, okay, am I looking at something? Am I missing something? And keep trying adjacencies, other ways that possibly could get solved. Ideally, though, there's 1 or 2 in there that you can go in and call and act as if you're looking for that service, from coaching to whatever it is. And remember, entrepreneurs love to talk. If you start asking questions, hey, what do you know about this, or what do you know about that? And we actually, again, we talk about that a lot in the book here on how to do heavy-duty market analysis. But there's actually ways that could end up becoming a referral client for you. Yeah, I love my job, but I hate doing all these small ones over here, and this stuff is just annoying. Like, really? Would you want to subcontract those out? Maybe. What do you got? But there's ways that you could start doing it. So the third thing is to start acting as if you're solving it, and then go out forth and really just dive in and start watch and learn, observe. Now, a couple of high-level things more in a geographic state. If you were looking for doing some sort of commercial or retail investment, there's things that you can go a lot of times to the county or even the city and go to the different departments, and you have to poke your head around and ask, but they're usually pretty friendly, and say, I'm looking for traffic counts. There are certain places where, like a Walmart or a Home Depot or any of Taco Bell, they know in advance, and the commercial realtors will help you figure that out and say, all right, I'm looking out, and they will say, yes, during the morning, this road has 25,000 travelers going east, and this road has 7,000 travelers going north, or whatever it may be. But it's going to allow you to start understanding what is the population that's traveling through there. And when you start having the populations and you can start seeing that, well, then maybe you could go and look at a similar place. And I remember way back when I was getting started, sitting there with a little clicker counter, counting people walking by on the sidewalk in an area that we thought would be a good possible place. And then I'd go across to, around the block to another place where there was a shop. This was downtown Denver. And I'd count how many people went in and out. And I would know, okay, between this hour and this hour, well, this many people went in and their average sale was about this. So once you start having all of this data, you're going to be able to start clarifying and building out the bones of where it should go into your business plan. Because once you have this, you can go deep in the weeds with figuring out rooftops. How many rooftops? So I'm thinking of putting a coffee shop or a storage facility or whatever at this corner. Fair enough. And within a 2-mile radius, there are, and you can go, and a lot of commercial realtors will have access to big data that says, yes, you put a pin in that spot, 2 miles around there, you have average, the average income of household income is $83,000. Average square footage of the house is 2,800 square feet. There's 3.4 people living in each one, but it really helps you start to understand who's in that area. And then it's going to allow you to do competitive analysis in other places that helps you start to smoke out what's working and what isn't in those areas. And once you start defining these things, then it's going to allow you to say, okay, I'm thinking of offering this product or service that's going to cost this much. Currently, this is how it's being solved in the market, and this is how much people are paying for it. Here is another one that's similar in this area, and this is the observation I've seen of how many people are using it and going in and out. In this particular area, we can do this, but it's going to get to a point where you keep drilling down on that data, and we talk a lot about that in the book and the courses, is it should be a no-brainer. It'd be like, man, we'd be idiots not to open this up. But sometimes people make mistakes, or sometimes people don't do the full data and they don't actually think about it. Now, part of the other market analysis is you're going to have to figure out what's the whole thing going to cost you. I remember years and years and years ago, I helped out a guy, unfortunately, that didn't work for him. And he invested like $400,000 in selling hot dogs in a food court. He did a fancy build out and all this. And the thing is he only had one register. People were around, it was a fairly decent volume and high traffic area, but it didn't matter. At $3 or $4 a dog, or whatever it was back then, plus a $1.50 drink, in the lunch rush period, he physically couldn't sell enough in a 4-hour period if he sold one every 2 minutes the whole time to be able to pay for that shop. That's why you need to understand what are your total expenses, and it'll help break all that out. And remember, a business plan, we talk a lot about this in the books and the courses. A business plan is a skeleton that helps ask more questions. It helps create more questions that'll help creating more and more and more clarity. And then when you're get to a point, it's like, oh my God, this is a no-brainer, we gotta do this. Or if you don't, if you're like, wow, this is really skinny, we might be able to make it work, we could push it if we get lucky. Don't do those, please. There's no reason for you to go broke. I've done almost 16 companies. I've only had 2 that went sideways. And those were my own fault. But if you go through and you dig in more on it, you can have success with it. And these are some of the main things on how you go through to do a market analysis for a business plan. So ideally you found some value. If you did, please subscribe. Check out some of the other videos on our channel. Share it. And if you have questions, you're always welcome to reach out or come check out our courses at aspiringsolopreneur.com. Thank you. Keep smiling.